a show she has labored to hang, with her careful attention to each and every piece and to presenting an artistic whole, a cohesive artistic whole. It is a gift to get creative with you, Stacie. Thank you so much. Fem Fusion, visual art and the written word began with Stacie's 2019 invitation to coffee at Webster's to develop her concept of how artists and writers could come together for an exhibition that celebrates feminine spirit, strength, and unity. Just as ideas volleyed between us to ultimately create a collaborative vision, we decided to invite others to do the same. What has arisen here is a body of dialogue between artist-writer pairs that results in a cumulative experience that defies the number of its parts, where 1 + 1 = 3, as Ingrid, a featured artist, describes it. Fitting of the feminine resilience explored here through shared themes of touch, household objects, fantasy, nature, and light.
So, it is entitled Life Bottled and Housed. House 1, Annville, PA, built 1790. In the museum's small radius of light, the artist speaks near keys, cups, shells, shards, ephemeral fruit, and durable oil can, captured in still life, vials and jars stacked and tumbled in memoria. Beside him, a glass case houses bottles he unearthed in the backyard, used in early years as garbage pit. His first find, a tiny bottle, aqua glass, ghostly with the oxidized iridescence of burial. The sheen Tiffany shot to imitate, without resorting to the age-old formula of soil plus time. He says, the bottle serves as analog for human figure. We speak of it with the same terms ascribed to the body. Trace our fingers over smooth parts, lip and neck, shoulder and bottom. House 2, Hermione, PA, built 1932. In the dark root cellar, floor bumpy bricks, the house my grandfather and his brothers conjured from a Sears kit, digging their way with shovels out of company houses owned by mining bosses. Fat-bottomed canning jars lined the shelves, blue vessels rubbing shoulders with clear lips lidded, some bellies empty, others filled with applesauce, beets, strawberry jam. When I was little and far from the ceiling's single bulb, it spooked me to enter the long shelved space. If I could have worn a miner's headlamp like the ones my grandfather and great-grandfather kept lit at the mouth of the coal mines, I would have strapped it onto my head to see what hid in the root cellar's dark corners. Did the mines smell like this musty, cool earth? Miners returning must have trailed coal dust as they descended the basement stairs to shower and change. Were these brick floors ever clean? When my grandmother died, what I wanted most, her aquamarine quart jars, ornate cursive B, swooping skyward into the lowercase all, slanting above block capitals anchored below, perfect mason. House 3, State College, PA, built 1967. Into the kitchen I now call home, I took the jars and the big pot for boiling them, the aluminum cone honeycombed with holes, the round-edged wooden pestle, pointed tip fitting deep into the sieve, and wooden neck cinched, supporting a knob skull. That autumn, my grandfather's orchard now dormant, I bought a bushel of apples from a local farm. Just as my grandmother did, I scrubbed and sterilized the jar's insides and lips, cleaned and quartered the apples, cooked them down. Then, with the pestle's head nestled perfectly in my palm, I traced the circles that would send crushed flesh through tiny holes, strained seed and skin, consign them to compost. Over the coming year, I would watch the applesauce pass over my children's lips like sweet golden sunlight, saying silently to my grandmother throughout the cold season, "See, life still has sacraments. Still, we can use these tools to carry on, take life to our lips, treat home as vessel, home as body, body as vessel, body as home." Thank you.
When we first began to converse, the Spoons and I, they told me how sorry they were for my loss and that they too missed my mother. Not every Spoon spoke, perhaps some were embarrassed. Like so many things, not to mention people, they prided themselves on being utilitarian. But they missed her touch, and they missed her knowingness, how she'd pull a particular one out of the drawer and understand it the way a tarot reader knows every card in their deck. The teaspoon best suited for elderberry syrup, that was temperance. The soup spoon, which, unlike its fellows, could never be bent, that was strength. And the one so mirror-like that your elongated face and its convex reflection seems truer than your actual visage, that was justice. I didn't want to be rude, so I listened. They told me about the pleasures of sinking raw sugar into dandelion root tea and about the pain of chipping away at too stiff ice cream. They told me of my mother's bottom lip and how, when she was deep in thought, she'd tap her teeth with the metal belly of whichever of them was currently in use. The more I listened, the more they talked. They spoke of places and occasions I had not existed to witness. The bridal shower, from which only 3 out of the original 8 of them have survived. The thrift shop around the corner from her first apartment. The souvenir stand at the national park where she'd met my father. Like the neighbors who'd stood too close to me at her wake, each and every one insisted on sharing their favorite memories, and soon I knew them all, the whole arcana, as well as my mother had, but never, it seems, as well as they knew her. Jealous of objects, that's what grief makes you. I wished to lick my own wounds. So cruelly, I hid the spoons all over the house. In an effort to break up their chorus, I placed them in storage bins and trunk drawers, flower pots and umbrella holders, between sweaters and the pages of books. Displeased and dispossessed, they stopped speaking to me at last, and I was eager for the chance to be alone with my own memories. But now, at night, I hear them singing to themselves, longing to be useful, calling to each other like ghosts. Every voice is a tarnished metallic echo of hers. The peaceful gray walls and couch colored with throw pillows hinted at the comfort Val hoped to find in her appointment with trust. Yet maybe she'd be inviting a menacing ink into her skin when she sat in that ergonomic chair on the other side of the parlor, next to the medical supply cabinet and glowing, silenced TVs. The aura of this space seesawed too, hovering between cozy den and luxury dentist's office. "I was hoping you would tell me what I want," she blurted. "Are you sure?" "I'm sure." That's not what I'm about." Trust swiped through designs on her tablet with speed and concentration. Val became quiet. The wall art showcased the skill of this parlor's artists, each piece sophisticated, edgy, and splendid. From one towering frame, a nude woman in the woods pressed her palms like a prayer, eyes closed, arms tight to breasts, and so much blood streaming her flesh. Val looked away, then back again at its glorious dripping, saw its origins running red from the sated, closed-lipped mouth. "I can choose the base," Trust said. "But what scar do you want me to draw from you?" "You mean on me, but a scar?" Trust looked up from her screen with a gentle grin. Val knew why she was here, but could not readily describe who she had let in, only what her lover had named herself. Sun goddess, she said, slapping her bicep, where she would only see the image right side up when she wanted to, because she was unsure. She was asking, does it hurt? Bad? I'm trust, not promises. Val took her seat in the chair, then reclined. Trust held her in easy conversation while doing the work, the buzz stinging in hot repetition. Val hadn't thought of it as a scar, her experience. The moment had been chosen, wanted. She had prepared her entire body for her lover to slide open the deep collar of her dress, kiss, touch her. Heat pulsated through her like arcing stars ablaze, with every wish and secret shared. The shape, a night sky, limitless, or dark plummet through clouds, shifting, tremble of lips tasting hers, smacks of light. The shape, thunderbolt, cascading licks, burn, a nipple pinch, pleasure, or scorching twist, sinking a wound. After a time, there was a pause. Trust held up a mirror. Val saw trickles of blood, but no ink. No face of beauty outlined, no crown spiked with sun rays, fixed to a pretty head etched in her arm. But nothing is there, she pleaded. You know how this works, Trust said, eyes twinkling with what Val had already walked in here knowing, what had emboldened her to show up in the first place. As you're ready, Trust said. Continue? Val laid back, inviting the sun-kissed pain, swirls of warmth whipping and beaming inside, shapes, hers, radiating, all-powerful.
Stream of consciousness. Mature trees whose canopies have reached the sun do not try to look like the shaded saplings they once were. The stream never longs for its curves to be different, lovelier in imaginary ways. It does not move through the woods embarrassed that its water doesn't run fast enough or babble more pleasantly. Does mood moss objectify itself? Does it fret about whether the squirrel that just scampered over it judged the moss to be sufficiently soft, inviting, impressive? In nature, no single shade of green is prized above the others. That would be madness. The black birch grows tall along the stream's fertile banks without justification or fear. Does a wild geranium ever yearn to be more like a Christmas fern? Are the pines self-conscious about the sap dripping out of them? The black walnuts and red maples do not seek to hide their knotty bulges, scars born of their adaptive ways to fend off injury and disease. The rounded burrows protrude for all to witness. The forest floor, teeming with nutrients and microscopic life, doesn't need self-help books to believe in the value of its detritus and dirt. Insects do not question their importance or likability. Does red trillium blush with guilt for being so showy next to bloodroot's understated white petals? Does bloodroot live in anguish because it does not look or feel like what it is called? The animals don't tell the stream that it is too big, too small, too forceful. They do not sip and say, "The stream I drank from yesterday was better." The water never apologizes for taking up space. The oldest oaks are unabashed by the deep fissures in their bark. Those dark grooves in sturdy trunks are telltale signs of their advanced age. Yet mature oaks are majestic, not invisible. These are the trees I step off the trail to touch. I place both palms flat against the trunk, whispering, "Thank you." Whispering, "Teach me, please." Then I stand in reverence and wonder, does the air feel so rich with oxygen here because of the abundance of plants? Or because of the absence of shame?
Digging my cosmos with a teaspoon. They say we don't use all of our brains. I feel like I use a good bit of my brain, but maybe what I mean is that I think a lot, which could be going on in just a teaspoon-sized space. Inside my teaspoon this morning, in the gold light, I think to drop dots of trillium, rose, and rue onto the paper where I write, in deference to the arcanum of night, and to the herbalist photographer JT, her incomparable texts expressing harmonics, chickweed, the wolf moon, the white pine recipe for all seasons, yes and yes, the spoken tellings, infinity of veiled layers of all elements and elementals. People are always asking, what even is art? Why do people ask this question? Art is a series of decisions moved by an invisible hand, which is inseparable from the matter which we are, and yet over which we have almost no control. Perhaps the resting part of my brain is soul. Therefore, I shan't dig, lest my dreams could be some buried power lines. I know it's hard to get into art. You need a headspace. You need the potted fern to keep staring you down. You need to find those strange little shoes, wrinkled, walking out into morning doves and longer light. But people are so simple, always saying you can't cure cancer with chamomile. Well, sure, that's one way to walk around. But who says it didn't heal you just because you died? Like most art, said a woman at the memory loss unit with whom I was looking at an intaglio print of Baltimore's Patterson Park, at first it just looks like a bunch of holes in the ground.